Hey, what's going on YouTube? Son of Sanguinius here, and today we're going to be continuing our Blood Angels Tactics videos with a look at the Vanguard Veterans. Alright, so they come in at 95 points. They are Weapon Skill 4, Ballistic Skill 4, Strength 4, Toughness 4, 1 Wound, Initiative 4, 2 Attacks, Leadership 9, with a 3-up Armor save. For War Gear, they have Power Armor, Bolt Pistols, Chain Swords, and Frag and Crack Grenades. Special rules, they have And They Shall Know No Fear, Combat Squads, Furious Charge, and Heroic Intervention. Vanguard Veteran Squads ignore penalties from disordered charges. Furthermore, the Veteran Sergeant may automatically pass the initiative test if he wishes to make a glorious intervention. So for options, you can include up to 5 additional veterans for 19 points per model. Any model may take items from the melee weapons list. Any model may replace his bolt pistol and or chainsword with a hand flamer for 10 points, or a grav pistol, inferno pistol, or plasma pistol for 15 points. Any model may take any of the following: melta bombs for 5 points, or storm shields for 10 points. The entire squad can take jump packs for 3 points per model. The veteran sergeant may replace his bolt pistol and or chainsword with a relic blade for 25 points. And if they do not select jump packs, the unit may select a drop pod, rhino, or razorback as a dedicated transport. So, Vanguard Veterans, I've always liked them. Thematically, they're cool. I really love the idea that, the veterans of the Blood Angels, they've sort of mastered the Red Thirst at this point, and they've sort of, been able to keep the rage at bay and use the thirst to sort of achieve victory in battle. And there's some nice, they always got that little descriptive paragraph, and it's really cool. But as cool and thematic as it is, as with some other units in the Blood Angels Codex that are also cool and thematic, they really struggle to find a place within a list. And this really comes down to the fact that as far as, assaulty units go, for 1 more point per model, you can take Death Company. And when you look at what you're really, getting with Death Company, Rage, Relentless, Feel No Pain, and Fearless, as opposed to, Heroic Intervention. And by the way, speaking of Heroic Intervention, Blood Angels still have the older Heroic Intervention. We do not have the newer Heroic Intervention in the 7th edition Space Marine Codex. I don't understand this. It was even asked about in the recent FAQ for Blood Angels, and GW basically told us to go fuck ourselves. So I don't understand that, but that's what it is. But regardless, that certainly does not help the case for Vanguard Veterans. And just going back, if you really wanted, like a cheap assault unit, you got Assault Marines. If you wanted, a totally amazing, assault unit, that can, demolish everything, you got Death Company. If you wanted something that's, kind of leans more toward like Honor Guard with, a whole bunch of power weapons and everything everywhere, you have Sanguinary Guard. So Vanguard Veterans, without a doubt, struggle to find a place within a list. And frankly, I would almost not be talking about them if it weren't for the Archangel's Demi Company and Angel's Blade, which will have its own video coming up here. It'll probably be while I'm actually debating whether or not I want to cover Shield of Ball Exterminatus before I cover Angel's Blade, simply because Exterminatus just isn't all that relevant. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. And taking it back to Vanguard Veterans, there are a couple of things that, Death Company and Sanguinary Guard don't have. So there's about 4 things from what I can gather. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this. But the first thing to mention is grav pistols. Now, as far as I'm aware, Sanguinary Guard and Death Company cannot take any grav pistols. So if you did want to run grav pistols and just sort of dedicate the squad to dealing with, I suppose you could use it as sort of like an anti-vehicle thing. Although looking at how grav works, it's really best used against sort of heavy infantry like Terminators, anything with power armor or any equivalent to that. So that is one definite thing. The other thing to keep in mind too is access to storm shields. Death Company and Sanguinary Guard cannot take storm shields, and so they lack an invuln save. It would definitely be expensive at 10 points per model, but equipping your Vanguard Veterans with storm shields definitely gives them a little bit more survivability. If you paired that with something like a Sanguinary Priest, you're getting 3-up armor, 3-up invuln with 5-up Feel No Pain, that can definitely be survivable. Arguably more survivable than just, Death Company with their regular 5-up Feel No Pain, or Sanguinary Guard with a 2-up save and no Feel No Pain and no invuln. So that's also something to consider. Sort of like on a lesser note, the Sergeant also can take a Relic Blade, which is Strength plus 2, AP 3, two-handed. I believe that's the exact stat line. I could be wrong on that. Let me just double check here. Yep, Strength plus 2, AP 3, melee, two-handed. So, it's it's nice. On the charge, you could potentially be Strength 7, or you would be Strength 7 with Furious Charge. The other thing to mention too is, considering the Heroic Intervention special rule, here is a sort of a unique instance in which Blood Angels Vanguard Veterans are better than everyone else. Because while all Vanguard Veterans, no matter what Codex you're bringing them from, they can ignore the penalties for disorder charges. For Blood Angels, that means that if we make a disorder charge with Vanguard Veterans, we still get the Furious Charge and the Red Thirst. Which is awesome, because those two things, frankly, in my mind, are really what define Blood Angels as far as rules and everything goes. Because, the units definitely too, but Furious Charge and the Red Thirst are where it's at. For us Blood Angels players. So the Relic Blade on the Sergeant is a nice little bonus. And the other thing to bring up too is access to Lightning Claws. Both Death Company and Sanguinary Guard, the sort of two assaulty unit equivalents, can't take Lightning Claws. However, Vanguard Veterans can. So that basically means you're getting AP 3, and you're much more reliable when you go to wound. The only problem is that, same with our Heroic Intervention, special rule, we're still paying 15 points to equip our Vanguard Veterans with power weapons, unlike the Vanguard Veterans in the newest Space Marine Codex, which are only paying 5 points to equip their Marines with power weapons. So, why that is, I don't know. It's really annoying, and I wish Games Workshop would not be so stubborn about leaving rules outdated. It's quite frustrating, actually, especially when they're trying to push things like the Archangel's Demi Company. The only useful core choice in the Angel's Blade Strike Force. But I digress. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So taking it back, there's 4 things that I can see, at least, that make Vanguard Veterans unique. That is access to grav pistols, access to storm shields, the Relic Blade, and the ability to take Lightning Claws. So, as I mentioned before, the grav pistols, can be good for some anti-heavy infantry, storm shields for resilience, and Lightning Claws for shred. The Sanguinary Priest can be taken to help, the squad survive, and given, how you can equip these guys, that could certainly be beneficial. I suppose you could use them as sort of like a mobile anti-vehicle unit by giving them melta bombs and grav pistols. Although, frankly, if you wanted a very mobile anti-vehicle unit, I would actually opt for something like bikes with grav guns. Now I know that that's totally original and not cheese at all, but let's be real here. If you really wanted dedicated, a very dedicated, fast, mobile anti-vehicle choice, I would opt for bikes with either Melta, Plasma, or Grav, and not Grav pistols on some Vanguard Veterans. So what does this mean for Vanguard Veterans, and how would I equip or use them? Honestly, I think using them for the points, and again, I would probably take min squads, all of them with storm shields. 2 of them just leave them with their chain swords. Maybe 1 or 2 of them give them either a power weapon, or in this case, since you're paying the same amount of points, go with a Lightning Claw. And I say that because compare the Lightning Claw to the Power Sword. You know, the downside of the Lightning Claw is that it's a specialist weapon, so you don't get +2 attacks on the charge when you have two close combat weapons, unless the other weapon that you're using also has the specialist weapon special rule. However, if you're going to give them all Storm Shields anyway, they can't ever gain a benefit for attacking for two close combat weapons, as it is stated in the Storm Shield War Gear entry. It gives up a 3-up invuln, and then it says they can never receive a +1 attack benefit for having two close combat weapons. So if you can't really receive that benefit anyway, why not take the Lightning Claw over the Power Sword? Both of them are 15 points, unfortunately, in the Blood Angels Codex. The only difference is the Lightning Claw has Shred, so why not give yourself Shred and have that little extra hitting power in there. And finally, I think the last guy would probably be equipped with a Thunderhammer, and it's debatable as to whether or not you want to go Power Fist or Thunderhammer. I would lean toward Thunderhammer simply because for 5 extra points you're getting Concussive, which to me makes a big difference because assuming you're attacking a mob of guys, you're going to lose the Red Thirst after the first round of combat, and if you're going against other Marines, which is, let's be honest, the thing you're most likely going to be going against, then they're going to get a chance to hit you back, and you're going to be stuck hitting them as they're hitting you, and that's not good. However, keep in mind that the Thunderhammer affects the entire unit with the concussive special rule, so the entire unit will be reduced to Initiative 1, while you will be down from Initiative 5 to Initiative 4. So again, you can just sort of keep the momentum and keep forcing your opponent to remove their models before they have a chance to do anything. So I would opt for a Thunderhammer over the Power Fist for five more points. It just makes combat with said units, much more survivable and much more devastating. So ultimately, regardless of what you guys do with them, I would be careful using and upgrading them. Like I said, I really don't. It's really a shame, but I really don't see Vanguard Veterans all that relevant on the tabletop, with the exception of the Angels Await Strike Force and the Archangels Demi Company. If it weren't for that, then I'd say just sort of steer away. But given how GW has decided to make our supplements, the Vanguard Veterans might be an option. And if upgraded and used correctly, they can be effective. Just be careful you don't put too many points into them, and whatever you do, make sure that you pick your targets wisely. You don't want these guys to be taking too much fire at all, and if you do take them, I would almost always give them a Storm Shield if they're going to be going up against other elites or mobs mobs of troops or whatnot. But that's just my take on it. So I'm curious to see what you guys have to say below in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.